Hello, hi there. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm Elena. I hope you're doing well. It seems my sound and picture are good and we can start. If not, please let me know and I'll try to fix that quickly. I'm glad you are still joining and now I can see several viewers. Thank you very much. So, welcome to the webinar dedicated to attracting new clients, understanding their needs, identifying buyers who are ready to act. Firstly, let me introduce myself. I'm Elena, event marketing manager at SendPulse, an all-in-one marketing automation platform. Let's get to know each other a bit. Where are you watching us from, guys? Please share your place with us in the live chat. Also, here's the poll. Choose your option. It will help us to learn more about your experience and your challenges in attracting new clients. Okay, if you are a newbie here and can find the live chat, it's on the right if you're watching us from the desktop and it's below the broadcast or maybe just on the broadcast on your smartphone. If this option is turned on. Okay, let me say a couple of words about our tools and academy. SendPulse is a multi-channel marketing automation platform. It allows you to send emails, SMS, Viber, and WhatsApp campaigns, work with clients using chatbots for Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and Instagram, and create landing pages in just 15 minutes. You can easily track all of your marketing activities and client information with SendPulse's CRM. So you can create, sell, promote online courses using our integrated marketing tools. And all marketing communication is easily managed with Automation 360. That's in general. And what is the SendPulse Academy? These are free digital marketing courses at academy.sendpulse.com. Also, all the lives and videos on the SendPulse YouTube channel are made by the Academy team. Also, we launched a community for marketers and SendPulse users. On the slide, you can see a QR code which leads to it. Join the community to network, learn from industry experts and each other, and stay in the know about the latest marketing trends. Our goal is simple: empower you to grow your business and connect with amazing like-minded people. Okay, let's go ahead and discard the FAQs. The recording will be available immediately on YouTube with the same link. You will be able to turn back to any moment there. However, keep in mind that the live chat won't be synchronized with video in this case. If you wish to ask a question, of course, there is such an opportunity. We will have a Q&A after the main part, so prepare your questions and our speaker will answer questions you may have. The duration is about 1 hour. And as for the slides, they will be available to download. We will send them to every registered attendee. If you joined without registration, you can get the presentation when submitting a special form for that, which will be available at the end of the webinar in the description of the video on YouTube. As for the certificates of attendance, there is such an opportunity to get them. We will send them to all registered attendees by Friday. Okay, if you have any other questions, please let us know in the live chat and we are going to start. Okay. We are about to meet our speaker, Christine. Hello, Christine. How are you today?
Hi, I am wonderful. Thanks. Great to be here.
I'm glad to have you speak today at the webinar, sharing your ideas, your insights, how to attract, how to identify and attract buyers who are ready to act. A really interesting topic. And guys, have fun. Don't forget to leave your questions to the live chat if you have. The microphone is now yours, Christine.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. I love seeing the chat here and people in the room. It's great to have you with us today. We're going to be talking about the most important element of your business, which is how to find clients. And not just clients, but clients that are keen to buy today. And so I want to talk to you about how to identify and attract your buyer, your next buyer. So let's get going. I am super excited to be here, and I am wanting to invite you to embrace elegant simplicity. You see the sign behind me. I truly believe that business growth can be elegantly simple. It will not be effortless. And I know this because I've worked with more than 400 businesses to create over a combined revenue of $1 billion. And we make those billions of dollars $1 at a time. So to make the most out of today, I want you to know that you have to cut the BS. That's your own internal story about why you don't have the clients you want, how the marketplace is performing, and any other story that says truthfully you're in your own way. Secondly, I want you to pick your lane. You do not have to have a complicated business to create momentum. I'm going to invite you to choose how you want to build your business so that it feels like oxygen, and then get masterful at that path. It goes without saying that clients don't fall from the sky unless you do some great things to attract them. So you're going to get focused on doing the work that creates the results. And my belief is really simple. We focus on the 1%. Focusing on the 1% of movement creates the momentum that you're seeking and takes off that roller coaster that you experience and makes it a really smooth sailing with consistency in your business. And I will tell you, to get where you want to go more quickly, working with the right mentor who has both the expertise to get there repeatably and can break it down to help you find your lane is critical. It is the biggest hack to getting there faster. And that is why people come work with me, because I know how to create that $1 billion, and I know how to break it down and help you find not just my way, but you find your way. So give me a thumbs up, comment in the chat if you are clear. And I see the comment in the chat. Somebody's asking for what is the BS, and that's your belief story. Or if you want to be a little more aggressive in the language, that is your bull story. So I want you to just be clear. You finding your own limits and holding on to them doesn't serve you. I want you to cut through your stories of limits to find the freedom of success. So keep the chat coming. Guys, I can see it. I definitely want you to stop if there's anything that you don't see clearly and you need some support. So the first question I want to ask you is, what kind of business owner do you want to be? Do you want to be a business owner that has consistent client growth who are ready to act today? Or do you want to be somebody who's on the struggle bus, who is busy with a really expensive hobby, but doesn't see revenue? Because here's the story you need to know. If you do not have clients in your business, you do not create revenue, you do not have a business. And there are only 3 reasons why you don't have the business that you want. Only 3. And so I want to invite you, if you're here live in this room and if you're listening to the replay later, stop and answer this question and own it, because it's a statement of where you are today, and it's the invitation to move if you don't like where you're standing and the view that you see on the horizon. The first reason that you don't have the business you want is, truthfully, you simply do not know how to attract or identify a buyer, customer, or client. Perhaps it's because you've never been in the world of business or you've never been in the world of marketing and sales, and this is a knowledge-based problem. Okay, the great news about being a knowledge-based problem is knowledge is available, and I'm actually going to show you how to create this today, so this will no longer be a limit for you. But you simply can't get to where you want to go by simply saying, I don't know how. It's a lazy excuse. Solve the problem. Number 2 is that you do know how to attract and identify a client. And you know that because you have some success already. You've had 1 client or 3 clients or 10 clients. But the truth is that you do not have clients every month of the year. You do not have all of your programs sold out. You have some success, but not enough success to reach your financial goals and your lifestyle goals, which means something that you're doing is working and it's not working as well as you'd like. And truthfully, if you do not know what you need to change, it's really hard to make the change. And so you're sitting in your own blind spot, which means I'm doing some good things, but I can't get around the blind spot on my own. And this too is a solvable problem. You get around this by having somebody else like me, a successful business owner who knows how to create success with client growth, to look and show you what you're missing so that you can correct it and see dramatic improvement in the consistency and clients coming into your business, programs being sold, and you seeing the capacity that you want. Number 3 is that you do know how to create success. And if you are 100% honest, the truth is you're simply not taking the actions you need. And that means you're just in your own way. You're inconsistent. And so if you're inconsistent, what that tells me is that you're not winning enough. Because if you had momentum and you had the right people in front of you and you were excited to serve them to get the result, you would make the offer and you would get the yes. And the fact that you don't do that makes me believe you're not winning enough. Because when you're winning, you'd never get in your own way. It's like breathing. And I love business owners that are successful and their business feels like oxygen instead of the fact that you're on life support in need of oxygen. So I want you to get clear right now. And if you're here live in the room, feel free to pop it in the chat. Get honest. What are you? Is this a knowledge problem? Is it a effort equals the right result problem? Or is it I am not doing the work and focused effort to get the results I want? And I said, there's zero judgment in the answer that you give in this moment. What matters is that you get to say, this is my starting point. Because the starting point is what you need to begin with. And we need to take the first step. Thank you for the comments here in the chat. We've got some people that say, I just don't know how to create clients. Awesome. Don't worry. We're going to tell you exactly how to do it in today's session. So I asked you what kind of business owner you want to be. And I've told you that business growth can be elegantly simple. In order to create a profitable, successful business at whatever level that looks like for you and your dreams, you must build the foundations of a client growth engine. And if you have identified a gap, as I invited you to do so, you need to recognize that staying where you are is a choice. Moving from that starting point is also a choice. So make the choice to change the inputs so that you can change your results. So here's the first piece that you need to understand. There are 2 factors, 2 things that will predict your revenue in the next 90 days. And for most businesses, their client journey happens over 90 days. It's not to say that every business is 90 days, but this is the average. And that means that the actions you take today will lead and has the potential to create a client 90 days from now. If you do nothing today, you will not see clients in the next 90 days. So again, that's a choice that you're making. And that's why I think, in truth, the quarter we're in right now, April, May, and June, are the most critical period of the year for anybody who's an entrepreneur. Because if you are not doing the things I'm going to tell you right now, you will not have the clients coming into your business in July, August, and September. And if that's the reality you encounter, guess what happens? Well, anybody on the northern hemisphere, like I live in the north of the equator, it's summertime. And we think, well, I've got all this capacity because I don't have any clients. And you take the summer off. And what that means is you do nothing in July, August, and September because you take the summer off, which means when you get to the fall, you also don't have clients. And then you are losing all of 2024. And you're going to be sitting there saying, maybe next year will be my year. And I want to say, stop. That is entirely driven by the results and your choices. So if you don't want to be waiting for next year to be your year, pay attention to this truth. Your business will be built on strangers. Okay? You have to recognize that getting in front of more people, more ways, more often is non-negotiable. Because your next client, you probably don't know today. So you should ask yourself this question. How many people are you meeting that have the potential to become your buyer, your customer, or your client? And note that distinction. I just didn't say how visible are you. I said how many people are you in a conversation with that have the potential to be your buyer? Your buyer, customer, or client is only 3% of the total audience that is seeing you today. That's a shockingly low number. So your ability to get in front of a lot of them is critical if you want to get off the roller coaster of inconsistent client growth. So I track, and I would suggest highly you track how many people are you meeting every single month? And are you identifying, are they potential to be a client for you? Or are they not a client for you? And this should be a very simple yes or no and a very separate column that you're tracking, because you've got to see the buyer if you want action today. The second piece of this puzzle is that the only thing that creates money is an offer. So you need to be asking, how many offers are you making every single day? And I think there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace about what an offer is. An offer is not a social media post that says, I have a program, a service, buy my stuff. Okay, that's not an offer. That is content. An offer is when somebody has a known problem, they come to you and say, I want to know about this program, and you say, would you like me to make you an offer? That's a dialogue, a conversation. And that is true whether you're selling something that's $9 or something that's $9,000. These two things, how many people you're meeting that have the potential to be your buyer and how many direct offers you make, will impact your revenue. And it takes multiple conversations, potentially multiple offers before you get to the yes, because most people that you're in conversation with are not ready to say yes today. You do not control the outcome of when they say yes, but you do control how often you're in the actions that create the momentum, that lay the foundation for the yes to be had. So your takeaway, take a screenshot of this if you need to, is to track these two things, because anytime you don't have the business you want, it comes down to you're either not talking to enough people or you simply aren't making any offers, and both of them are within your 100% control to modify or change. So that's the first piece of the puzzle. So I know I've got several of you in the room here, and I want to help bring this concept to life. So again, I want you to be popping into the chat. When you got out of bed today, what was your number one task or priority that you wanted to accomplish today that if you accomplished it, you would have said, I won the day. I was successful. I did the thing. I'm celebrating. I was in momentum. Pop it into the chat, if you will, if you're here in the room. What was the number one thing that you were focused on today in your business? What was the number one thing? Pop it into the chat, because this will help illuminate it and illustrate the point. What was your priority today? Was it writing a newsletter? Was it updating your website? Was it something creating content? Or was your focus today an offer, a follow-up with somebody you'd offered in the past, a conversation with somebody that you've met, that you've identified, a potential buyer in the room? So I've got a couple of comments in here. I've got one person who said, I was building infrastructure. So emails, SMS, Facebooks to engage with prospective projects. So that was back-end work and not client-focused front-end work. I've got somebody who said, I spent time DMing strangers. Well, these strangers are not necessarily buyers if they're strangers. So we've got to think about this truth. Your number one job today was to make an offer to somebody. Your number one responsibility was to capture a yes, and everything else in the day is a distraction. And that's the truth. Everything else is a distraction if it's not an offer and if it's not focused on identifying a buyer. So just take that and think about it, because it will change how you show up. So I want to give you a piece of homework. This will be an important step for you, but audit. Go back into your calendar for the last 2 weeks to 30 days and ask yourself, how are you spending your time? Is it with buyers? Is it with people you're making offers to? Or is it with other things? Because this will tell you if you need a course correction and a shift in your daily focus. Because I will tell you that to stay out of overwhelm, again, I said business was elegantly simple. I want you to think about the 80-20 principle. This is sometimes known as the Pareto principle, which says that 20% of your effort creates 80% of the result. So as you look at your business today, and when I asked the question, are you winning? I heard, I don't know how, it's not working as well as I'd like, and I'm kind of in my own way. And instead of doing more back-end work, I want to know, what's the 20% you do today that created your last client, that led to the buyer? Because I want you to focus that 20% and do that 80% of your time. And so it means not doing all the things, not doing all the sparkly things, not doing all the distracting things, but getting really focused. I told you there were 2 things that will create revenue. Do the 2 things. And here's what I tell my clients. If you have not enough clients, I'm going to answer that question about what do I do to build rapport. Don't worry, I'm going to talk about that. But I tell my clients this: if you do not have the clients you want, how many you want, or the right clients at the right price that you want, then you need to spend 70% of your day on these 2 factors: finding them and making the offers. 70%. And that means if you're working 5 hours a day, 70% of those 5 hours is just on those 2 things. 80-20 principle. If you already are in momentum and you do have most of the capacity that you want already filled, 50% of your time is still spent on this simple thing, because it's the thing that gets you out of number 2. You have to build an engine where you constantly are getting new people into your world. You're constantly in conversation with them so you can identify who's the buyer, and you're constantly moving the potential buyer to an offer. It's a process. It's a movement. It's a journey, and it doesn't happen in a nanosecond very often. So you've got to lay the foundations and keep it simple. 20% of what you do creates 80% of the results. So stop doing all the stuff that's not working and use the available hours you've got more effectively. All right. So this is a piece that I want you to take away as you go into the rest of your day. How will you personally step out of the overwhelm and focus on these two things? Because these two things are where the money happens. And I want you to have more clients. And you choosing what to focus on is 100% in your control. I tell you, creating $1 billion with 400 clients, this is the way to success. If you don't do it, you are making the journey harder than it needs to be. So let's take you now into the second piece of the puzzle. There's two things that will predict the revenue. How do you improve your success rate? Is the next question. Well, there are 3 non-negotiables that fuel client growth. There's actually 5 pillars that you need in business, but 3 are critical because without the first 3, you do not have a business. You have a roller coaster ride. The first thing is that you must be able to identify and attract your ideal potential buyer. Okay, that's a skill. It's a skill you have to learn. You don't innately own it when you start. You have to learn it. And this is hard to do on your own, which is why clients come work with me in a 6-month program, because we help them answer this riddle. If you do not know who your buyer is and you do not know where to find them, you need to be in this 6-month program, because doing this on your own is hard. It's almost impossible because you have a blind spot, and you know this because you already told me you were a number 2. The second piece of this puzzle is that you have to be able to move your potential buyer from "I'm curious" to becoming a yes when you make the offer. That's a journey, okay? And there's a lot of steps in that process, which means you have to have a strategy, okay? Strategy is the biggest way that you win consistently. I don't care what tactic you use. You might be using your website, you might be using SEO, you might be using networking, you might be paying for ads, you might be using speaking. There's a lot of different ways to get things tactically moving. But if you don't know why and what makes you awesome and where you want to play and why you're the must hire, which is a strategy, big umbrella, God, good luck. It is going to be really hard. So strategy isn't optional. And I will tell you, most business owners I encounter skip the strategy and go straight to finding the tactic. And then they throw spaghetti at the wall with a lot of tactics and get exhausted and don't have the results. Google produced some content, some research, market research many years ago that said that there's a zero moment of truth, or a ZMOT. I'm a Canadian, so if you're an American or anybody else, that might be ZMOT, or zero moment of truth, which means on average, your next buyer will research you and want 7 to 12 touch points before they're even visible to you as a buyer, which means that there's probably 20 steps that they're taking before they say yes. You've got to have a strategy to keep the movement going. You've got to be clear what motivates them, why you're the right person, what result that they're looking for. This is strategy, my friends, because your ability to move somebody predictably, profitably, and in a short period of time is what makes you a business owner. It's what makes you a business owner. And so this strategy piece is where you likely don't have a solid foundation, but it's a key piece of the puzzle, because you've got to make the offer when the time is right. I told you, 2 things predict your revenue. One of them was an offer, but you must lead the offer, and you must understand this truth. The value of the offer is defined by what the buyer sees. So often business owners get caught thinking that the value is what you believe it to be as the business. It's wrong. It's not true. And I know that this happens and you can hear it. So let me tell you, let me describe it when the business is caught into their own value. If a business makes an offer and the offer sounds like this, the program costs this, it's 3 sessions of this, it's 2 sessions of that. You're going to meet every week. You're going to get notebooks. You're going to get this. 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 And the price is this. Do you want it? Okay, that's a disaster from a yes perspective, because that's you justifying the features. It sounds like a lot of work. And anything that sounds like a lot of work, people do not want to do, because somebody else will tell me there's a magic pill and I'll go buy the magic pill. You know that there's work. I've told you there's work. I'm inviting you to take the journey of the work with me. But what really matters is to them, I want a result. When that result is worth more to me than the price I must pay, there is an opportunity to say yes. If this gap doesn't exist, you do not get to yes. If this gap does not exist, you do not get the result. So there are 3 things you need to do from a business owner perspective. You need to know who is in the room and are they your people? And you get to choose, actually, you get to choose who is your people. Number 2, you've got to have a strategy. You've got to answer these 4 questions. Who are you? What do you stand for? Where do you want to win? What's the marketplace you choose to play on? Number 3 is why you win there. What makes you the must-hired choice for that marketplace? And number 4, what capabilities and capacity do you need to win every day? That's number 2. And number 3 is, of course, without an offer that is valued by the buyer, yes is really elusive. It's hard to get. So that's what I want you to know. Chances are that you might not be clear, and I can see it from some of the chats in the comments here. Who the hell is the buyer? Well, I told you buyers are a very small subset of the total room. And your ability to identify the people that want what you have and are willing to act today is a skill. So let me tell you what makes a buyer unique, because you are learning to recognize this and not waste time with people who are not your buyer. Number 1, buyers are already problem aware. If your buyer is not aware of the problem, they are not a buyer. And so many business owners miss this. If you are educating a buyer that they have a problem that they were not aware of, you are on a very long runway to getting somebody to act and say yes. Most businesses will go broke in that lane because you simply don't have enough runway or cash in the bank or sticking power to make that work in the long term. So you need to know that the people you're looking for are already aware they have a problem, because problem awareness is an indicator of somebody who's ready to act today. The second thing is, because they're already problem aware, they have already tried to solve the problem. They've already tried to solve the problem and not been successful. They could have Googled it. They could have used Pinterest. They could have gone to YouTube. They could have paid for programs. They could have found free resources. But the truth is, whatever they found did not work. And so there's an awareness that I need an alternate plan to get the result, because I'm in my own way. I'm not getting the result I want, and the problem still exists. So for you, everybody in this room, because you're here, I know you had a problem with lack of clients. I also know you've tried to solve this because you're asking questions in the chat and you're aware, oh my God, some of this is new information and I don't know what to do with. I might need help. So guess what? I know you're a buyer. 2 of those characteristics are already met. Here's the third one. I am committed to changing my behavior, the inputs that are creating the problem, because I, as the buyer, desire a different outcome. If there is no commitment to change, they will not get the result. And you having customers that do not get the result does not help your business. They're going to feel like they wasted their money. And so you're looking for people who are driven to change. And I tell my clients this: I am a mentor and I am a fuel source for you. I know how to create $1 billion in revenue. You do not. I've spent 25 years in the world of business working in marketing, sales, operations, and I've had full financial responsibility from everything from a startup to one of the largest companies on the planet. You have not. What's really important for you to recognize is that staying where you are, trying to figure things out on your own to a problem you know exists, isn't going to get you the result. But I won't drag you to the result. I'm a fuel source. I have the knowledge, expertise, and capability to help you. But what I always tell every person that I have a conversation with before I make the offer, tell me why this is non-negotiable for you. I'm asking for commitment because you, the buyer, have to light the fire of the movement. I, as the business owner, will add oxygen to that fire that gets the result. It's the combustion, it's the transformation. But if they're not problem aware, they're not looking for assistance, they're not open-minded, they're not seekers, and they're not committed, my friends, you have tire kickers in the room. They're not your buyer. So beware that you spend too much time in that space. So we've talked about what to focus on. We've talked about how to see a buyer. That's a real knowledge light bulb for many of you. I also want you to be clear on what marketing strategy is, because I made a really big deal about talking about number 2 and having a strategy, not just tactics. But here is the simple truth about marketing. It's not as complicated as the world is making it. It's elegantly simple. Marketing, when effective, leads to a qualified lead, which means a potential buyer, a potential customer, or a potential client. If you're marketing your content in whatever strategy you're using and in whatever tactic you're using, if it's not leading to this result, my friends, it's broken. If you're not getting qualified leads into your business from all of the effort you're spending, it's broken. Doing more of it is crazy. The tactic doesn't need to be complicated. I want you to pick one. I want you to get great at it. I want it to be effective, and you know it's effective when you have qualified leads. People who are buyers, because they're problem aware, they're seekers, they're open-minded to your services, and they are committed to change. So some of you might be thinking, wow, that was harsh. My marketing isn't leading to results. Well, let me tell you, it's not the algorithm, it's your content, because the content's not driving the right people to you. And I have a really strong belief that marketing and everything you've been taught about it is wrong when it comes to whether it helps you find the right buyer. Most people in the world of marketing think that the importance of finding the buyer is describing a client avatar. That is somebody who you demographically and psychographically describe. For example, my ideal client is a woman who's a solopreneur who lives in Boise, Idaho. She's got 2 cats, 2 dogs. She's been to university education, and she's had her business for 5 years. Okay, who's ever gone through that exercise of creating a client avatar? It's an exercise that's helpful when you are writing an email or when you're picking pictures for your branding. It does not help you identify the buyer, because that's just a fact. What matters is emotion. What's the consequences to her reality that gets her moving? And that's why marketing in the traditional sense, where it says describe the pain, lean on the pain, talk about the consequence of the pain, is bad business advice. Because I said to you at the very beginning, our goal was movement, and that clients had to go on a really long journey, 7 to 20 touch points before they're ready for an offer. If I am complaining to you and shaming you and judging you and describing how you're flawed, which is what traditional marketing tells you to do, it creates zero movement. Two things happen. Either I don't know you're talking to me because you're trying to educate me about a problem I don't even know I have and I'm not that interested. Zero movement. Or I do actually see myself in your story, but I feel judged, shamed, called out, and criticized, and that does not make me want to open my wallet. That also creates zero movement. So stop the bro marketing. Stop leaning your content into the sky is falling and the world is disastrous. It doesn't work in this current economic cycle. I tell my clients, I want you to be clear that clients are on a continuum. Their journey is over a period of time. You get to decide where you intersect them and in what moment of time you make contact. That's a choice you get to make. And it's important when you make that choice, you understand what's really going on with that buyer. You need to know what's the problem as they see it. What is their hope for the other alternate reality they strive for? What's the result? When is it non-negotiable? And what am I looking for? That's important from a language, speed, location perspective. That's a skill. It's a skill that you might not have today, but that's what the 6-month program helps people figure out. Because when you are able to meet somebody in the dark with zero judgment and an invitation to movement, you will start identifying who's the buyer and who is not. And I told you that was a skill you needed to acquire. So think about, as a takeaway, where do you want to meet somebody in the timeline? What's going on for them exactly? What do they hope for? What will get them moving? And then you need to know strategy. Why are you the must hire? So think about what you need to change. Because when it comes to strategy, there's a couple pieces you need to get really dialed in. Number one is that you need to bring your unique lens to the world. You need to stand out from the marketplace. And the easiest way to do that is to stop spending all of your day in the room of people who are not your buyers. Often I call it the room of enlightenment. You're in the room with your peers, people who may have taken the same programs as you, maybe have been in the same networking spaces for you, and people who are really at the same level of mediocrity instead of greatness. And you need to get clear that the world is asking for you to have an opinion, and your opinion will call your buyer. You do not need the 8 billion people on the planet. You need to find the 5, 10, or 30 people that will make your business run. So you've got to stand out and have something to say, which is why I said strategy was so important. Who are you? What do you stand for? Where do you want to play? What makes you the must hire? And what do you need to win every day? The right visibility matters. There's a lot of people who are exhausting themselves with visibility to people who will never be buyers. I want you to get into the room where the next buyer is. I want you to get clear on the visibility that it's not enough to educate. You have to educate and invite an action and be sure what results you stand for and why people should hire you. Without that, you are just entertaining. You need to recognize that the only time money moves hand is when what happens? I said, when the value is seen by the buyer is higher than the cost they pay. So what will they pay for is a key question you need to ask, because if they're not willing to pay for it, they will never say yes. And that means you have to find the piece of motivation, the piece of inspiration, the piece of hope by really understanding where they are on the continuum. The fourth piece of this is that you need to know that marketing, when done right, leads to a potential buyer coming into your space and doing this. I've been researching you. I know that you offer 2 programs. I'm not sure which one's a right fit for me. I'd like a conversation because this result I need and it's non-negotiable. That's successful marketing strategy. Do you have that in your business? Do you? Chances are there's a gap. My invitation at the beginning was solve the gap. You're not sure how, I will tell you. Once again, the 6-month program is a great place to start. But this is key. And I want to share with you an important story here because you're probably at this point thinking, wow, 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 sounds amazing, but what the hell do I do? Well, I want to share the story with my client, Ashlyn. Ashlyn's been a client of mine for several years. She runs a digital marketing agency. She came to me when she made the commitment to quit her full-time job and go directly into her business. And the first thing we did was look at her business model, her marketing strategy, and how she was identifying and attracting clients. We've been working together now for almost 2 years. And in the first 5 months of her 3rd year in business, she did 1 year without me and the second 2 years with me. She brought in more revenue than the entire previous year. And in just 6 months, they claimed more revenue than the last 2 years. What do you hear from that? She learned to know who the buyer is, how to invite them, and what makes her the must hire. And as a result, she's creating a client growth engine. I helped her shift from the short term, trying to convince people to hire her, to having strategic, longer term impact. Particularly, I said to her, why are you negotiating contracts every single month with your clients? Why are you on a project-based model? You want to hire people into your business. And when you hire people, guess what? People expect to be paid every month. It's not okay when you don't have cash to pay them. So we shifted her focus. We shifted the offer. We got clear on what was value by her customer, and it fired an engine. We added oxygen to it. And that success story is just one of hundreds that I work with. So I want you to imagine if you knew who was your buyer and you knew how to move them predictably and you were sure on the value equation and you made the offer, do you think you would get more yeses than you're getting today? Question. Do you think you're getting more results than you're getting today? The answer should be heck yes. So doing what you're doing should be a hard no. So let me ask you, where's your biggest gap? There are 3 foundations you need. 3 are not built all in the same moment. They are stepping stones, but the stepping stones fire up the engine. The stepping stones build momentum. The stepping stones give you confidence to be able to move quickly when opportunity comes your way. And I said, if you could focus on the 1%, building piece by piece by piece, you know now what is needed. So knowledge is no longer the problem. Seeing where your gaps are means you're no longer uncertain what needs to change. And if you were not taking the actions, I've told you the results are out there. Are they happening for you? Staying what you're doing is a choice. So the final thing I want to talk about, and this is a key question, and this is a zinger. My friends, I will tell you this one's a zinger. But in the marketplace right now, are you viewed as the likable expert? People are fans of you. Or are you viewed as the must-hired choice? There's a world of difference between these two. So many business owners are caught as the likable expert. You're focusing content and marketing on educating. And guess what? People don't pay for education unless you're a university, a college, or a skill. It's not the knowledge because truthfully, Google, Pinterest, YouTube are highly trafficked because knowledge is free. Being a knowledge-based educator gets you 0 clients. What gets you clients is saying, I can help you with the knowledge, yes. But more importantly, I will help you implement the knowledge, because implementing the knowledge is where the result is. And you're not getting the result on your own. And here's how I get it. Here's how I help my clients get it. And here's why you would choose me. That makes me the must hire, which means I have leadership when I make the offer. And when it comes to making the offer, certainty is everything. Because in a dialogue between a buyer and the business owner, there's going to be one outcome, a yes or a no. And it's based on the certainty in the room of which answer comes into play. Either I, as the business owner, am certain you'll say yes, because I know my value, I stand in it, and I've been really clear that you're a buyer of mine and I can help you. Or the buyer, client, or customer is more certain to say no. And they haven't solved the problem. A problem they're aware of, a problem they've tried to solve, and a problem they said that they're committed to. And if they honestly say no, you've lacked the leadership, because the answer should be really clear. No doesn't move you forward, and that's a choice. So let's pull this all together. I want you to shift from being the likable expert to the must hire, which means you identify the buyers and you stay away from the tire kickers. There are 3 lanes of buyers. Okay, this is a really good analogy for how you will leave today's webinar. There's buyers in the slow lane, there's buyers in the middle lane, and there's buyers in the fast lane. Your ability to recognize where they are and make decisions based on that assessment changes the game. The slow lane of buyers is the someday buyer. They're the buyers who are aware that the problem might exist, but it's not a today problem, which means I'm not really a buyer today. And so you educating me and trying to convince me to make this a priority is exhausting, and it's where you go broke. The slow lane is somebody who's a someday buyer. And yeah, you should nurture them. You should bring them into your ecosystem, but you do not want to spend your day giving your calendar link and spending all your time with people who are, I'm just researching about a problem that I one day might have, because you're not going to move to the yes with a slow lane buyer. You want to shift them and spend your time in the middle lane. The middle lane is somebody who has a problem, is seeking, and is committed, but has the same repeating pattern. Okay. Buyers have to have a repeating problem, or it's not an opportunity to create an offer. Okay. Let me say that again, because it's important. If this is a problem I only have once of every, solar flare, it's not a problem that I will pay money for. But if this happens every time the moon goes around the sun, I am motivated to solve this. And at some point, my ability to recognize the pattern is happening, to see the potential buyer white knuckle the problem, and to say, that looks like a pattern. It looks kind of painful. You know that pattern can not be the only option, right? Like there's something other than the pattern you're in, is when you bump into them with your marketing, when you bump into them with your conversation. And all you're doing in that moment, and there was a question in the chat about this, is to say, do you know that there is some other choice out there? And that is what? It's a curiosity question, because our goal is movement. And my job is not to sell you. My job is to make you curious so that you ask me for an offer. Totally different. My job is to say, I see the pattern, I recognize the pattern, and do you know that that's not the only choice? Are you curious about what the other choice is? Because I have proof, experience, and expertise that there's another option. Are you curious? If they say yes, they start moving. Then you want to nurture them to say, here's what it could look like. Does it interest you? Yes. Here's what that result would be like. Are you interested in knowing more? Yes. If you had that result, how would your life change? They answer the question. Would that interest you? Yes. So if that would interest you, what would make it non-negotiable? They answer the question. You say, well, I think I have a way to do that. Would you be interested in an offer? Yes. Notice the pattern of the movement I am describing. That pattern, guess what, is our biological advantage. Psychologically, biologically, if we can get 5 yeses, the next question, number 6, is almost always a yes. You want to keep people moving towards the yes. And you do that best through conversation. You do that best by curiosity. You do that best by having a strategy. I don't care what tactic you use, you just have to have a strategy first, because every tactic works. Ads work, SEO work, speaking works, websites work. The question, if it's not working for you, it's not a question of the tactic, it's that you lack strategy. You're not clear on who the buyer is. You're not clear what gets them moving. You're not confident you can keep them moving, and you're not confident in what you stand for. There's a gap. But the middle lane is where you will build your bread and butter client. Your ability to get great at this will keep you consistent, keeps you winning. And then I said there's a fast lane. The fast lane is what I call a unicorn client. They're people who are already in the marketplace, who already probably know who you are and are scared and waiting for you to have an offer, but they put a timeline and a budget to their action. And I know that the buyer is a unicorn client when they are so grateful when you say, it sounds like you might be looking for an offer. What's happening? And they're like, yes, I've been watching you for a while. Please tell me if this is the right thing. I'm scared. And you make an offer and they say yes right away. Unicorns happen more often the better your marketing is, the more visible you are with the right people, the more certainty you have in your leadership. I have a lot of unicorn clients because I get into spaces, whether they're webinars or podcasts, and people say, damn, like that's the clearest I've heard business 101 ever explained, and I know where my gaps are, and I need help getting them solved. Tell me what it's like to work with you, Christine. And it happens all the time. I want you to know it can happen, and I want you to say, I want it to happen for me. But when you are spending your day getting in front of more people, more ways, more often, I want you to always be assessing and building your spidey senses to know what lane are you talking to. And you prioritize your next step accordingly. Slow lane, do not spend time with a one-to-one. Invite them to a free resource or a group activity. If you're in a middle lane, you say, come to the group activity, or would you like to have a conversation? A conversation, if they're willing to have it, will move you faster. The unicorn client is always a conversation. Prioritize your day accordingly and stop getting focused on distractions and busy work that doesn't help your bottom line. So I want to give you a reality check because this is important. In order to get the yes, you need to know that future clients want 2 things. They want predictable results. They are not paying for your time. They are paying for the results. They are accessing your expertise. They're not acquiring it. So are you certain what results you stand for? And all of your programs and services should clearly deliver that result. In my business, just for illustrative reasons, I stand for a client growth engine. I'm showing you how to get it right now. And I have programs. I have a podcast, I have a group program, and I have one-to-one private client work. All 3 of them get you to the same results, predictably. And everyone who comes to me to ask for an offer is certain I know what I'm doing. They're looking for certainty, not your time. So be clear, your results focused in your messaging and looking for people to say, I want that. Second thing is they are looking for confidence in their decision-making, because making the investment to change from the safety of a broken pattern is hard. It's always hard. And so when somebody says to you, I want an offer, what they're asking and telling you as the business owner is saying, I want to borrow your confidence. You know what you're doing. And you need to reward them for that by being a good human who helps get the result. And if you are not capable of getting the result, do not make the offer. Please don't taint the marketplace with half-ass work that doesn't get the result where you take the money. It's happening too often, and I am done. I hate it. I'm so disheartened when I see it happen in the marketplace. Stand in integrity with your values. So, human-centric connection is the fastest thing that will move your business. Human to human, people do business with humans. In the world of AI, don't automate everything away, and access is key. And people want to know it works, not because you said it worked, but because somebody else experienced it and says it worked for me. I gave you social proof. I shared my story with Ashlyn. I hope it landed with you. She's moving her business at a rapid rate because she's worked with me and the skills have been acquired. Final piece of the puzzle. This is the recap. To improve your yeses, to get and identify buyers that act today, you must put your shoes on with the lens of your buyer. It's not about you. You don't get to choose. It's about you. You get to show up because it's about them. Buyers do not want to pay for your time. They will pay for results. Results are the only thing that matters. Intimacy and access is what people want today. They don't want a $9 program that they put on a shelf. They want a $9,000 experience that gets the result in a space that they go, oh, thank God I didn't have to find my way in the wilderness by myself, because truthfully, I tried that. It didn't work so well. They want smaller wins more frequently. Stop trying to sell them a unicorn when they're honestly trying to breathe. It's not that I don't want a unicorn. It's just I didn't Google it. So don't sell me a unicorn. And I believe firmly high ticket works. High ticket customized programs are always going to be yeses, because people don't want the one size fits all. So here's the final slide. This is the recap of the presentation. Get ready to take your screenshots. 2, get the results you came for today. Your number one job is sales. Never lose sight of that. Everything else is a distraction. You have to be looking for the buyer. There were 3 characteristics of them. I want you to always have your spidey senses up. What lane of traffic are you talking to? Prioritize your time, adjust your strategy, and use your day effectively. Get clear on why you're the must hire. If you are not the must hire and you're the likable expert, you will go broke. You don't have a business. You have an expensive hobby. And I don't want you to do it all. I want you to find the 20% that works and do it 80% of the time. I want you to dial in and make it simpler, and I want you to get support. So this is what you learned today. You know how to attract a buyer. You know what the gaps are if you were not effective, and hopefully you're saying, with this strategy, I will win. And I want to invite you to one thing. And I know kindly the SendPulse team has dropped some things in the chat. I have an event. I'm going to take you through 3 days. These tickets are free. This is the chat, that link that you want to come to. I'm running an event called Heroes of High Ticket. This is a program where I'm bringing 14 business experts who win in high tickets, which I mean is that high touch, high result, high care client experience. And I want to invite you to be in the room. It's 28th through the 30th of May. Get registered for it. Tell your friends. This is how we grow business. And why I'm so passionate about this is because I want more of you to win. I want you to find people who want what you offer. Stop trying to convince people who don't know who you are that you want it. Your clients are out there. The challenge is not that they're not there. The challenge is that they're not finding you and you're not owning it. And that, my friends, is a solvable problem. So I invite you to solve it. You can find details there, pops in the chat. I hope that you have enjoyed this experience. I see some great comments. Thanks, Eugene, for the feedback down below. If you have any questions, I will open up now. I will take them in the chat, and I will give you some extra guidance if you need it. Business can be elegant and simple. Take this and run.
Oh, Christine, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your tips, ideas, insights. Really interesting, fascinating, I'd say. And here is thanks to you in the chat. Super insightful. Guys, if you have any questions, there is such an opportunity to ask because we are moving to a quick Q&A. Don't miss. So, Christine, shall we start from question from me? What are some common mistakes businesses make when trying to identify ready buyers, and how should businesses adjust their sales funnel to better accommodate ready buyers?
The first biggest mistake I see is that people use their current client and think their current client is the same as their next client. Okay, and they're not. Because your current client has already said yes to you. They already see the value. And so the conversation you have with somebody who's already enlightened is different than your next buyer. Your next buyer is still in the dark, still not sure what they're looking for, still not sure what the options are, and you've got to shift your lens from somebody who already gets it to the person who is seeking. That's number one. The second piece of that is you need to be aware of, I said, that time continuum of the journey, because that client is the same person, but what they're looking for, what will connect to them, and what will spark their curiosity is different. And so I want you to adjust your funnel to not sound like everybody who's already in the room and your peers who already do the same business as you, and instead get creative and think about, where was I 4 steps before this? Because that's where you're going to meet them. And you want to move them from that place if you want to win in the marketplace.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, thank you. And I can't see any questions in the chat. Just extremely helpful. Thank you here in the chat. Okay, and one more question. What are some immediate actions we can take to start attracting ready buyers after the webinar? What would you highlight?
The first thing I would say to you is go back to the strategy questions, because you get to decide how you do your business. Okay. And I think we need to say this 100 times. You don't get to, follow somebody else's path. You get to choose yours. This is a leadership question, but you need to say, who am I? What does I stand for? What result do I stand for? You have to get really clear on this. And if you're not clear, it's hard to do on your own. Ask clients, ask your peers, ask other people that you know in the world of business, what do you think I do? Who do you think I serve? And get some market feedback, because you then can sit with that answer and say, yes, it's right, and I want to run more quickly at it, or wow, there's some confusion in the marketplace. And that means that I need to get clearer on where I want to play. And once you get clear where you want to play, because that's a choice, you've got to do an audit of how you're showing up, where you're showing up, and the messages you're putting up there. Because that congruency, if you're in the wrong room attracting the wrong people and who don't really want to do what you want to do, it probably feels kind of awful as a business owner. So I'm going to say choose and change. You're not a tree. You get to move anytime you like.
No, I like it. Thanks a lot. Once again, Christine, thank you for sharing your ideas, tips, insights, some inspiration moments. Thanks. A lot of our viewers send thanks to you. Okay, guys, follow SendPulse social media. Let's stay in touch and connect with Christine on LinkedIn. And we are going to conclude, as I can't see any other questions in the chat, and I hope and I believe that it was so useful, valuable for you. And thank you everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your time. Stay tuned to our social media accounts and to Christine Campbell Rapin LinkedIn and social media there. And it will be great to see you again. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, and have a wonderful week ahead. Goodbye.
Create your course using the SendPulse platform. Upload a course preview and landing page cover and choose your course format, lesson flow, cost, and course completion requirements with ease. Create a clear-cut course structure using a convenient visual builder. Add course selections and lessons with text, video, audio, image, and image gallery elements. Evaluate your students' performance and acquired knowledge using tests. Add instructors who will answer students' questions and help you monitor their performance. Create branded certificates using a simple builder to motivate students and provide a confirmation of successful course completion. Integrate a payment system you need in just a few clicks to accept payments and monetize your knowledge. Focus on your students, and we will take care of the technical side of things.